Now the Disinformation Board, Mayorkas, is out there trying to tell everybody that the Disinformation Board is a good idea. They haven't decided that a DHS bureaucratic monstrosity meant to tell you what is true. They say it's just about foreign propaganda. Does anybody believe that it will stay on just foreign propaganda? These are the same individuals, and I mean some of the actual individuals who were involved in perpetrating the Trump-Russia collusion hoax. So I don't think anybody could really believe that their real intention here is to stay in the very defined lane, if you will, of, oh, when Russia's lying about things, or the transnational drug cartels across our southern border in Mexico are lying, that's when the DHS will jump in. No, this is going to be PolitiFact on steroids. This is going to be a national government fact checker that the libs will point to and say, see, even the DHS agrees with us. As if that's supposed to mean something. As if we're all supposed to just bow and say, you're right. I mean, when has the government ever gotten anything wrong like it did during COVID or like it did during go down the list, folks? How many times have you seen a government consensus from inside the bureaucracy? How many dozens of senior former intelligence officials told you that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, which only an idiot actually believed that the Russians created a laptop and put photos of Hunter with his tighty-whities and a scarf on dancing around in his aviators. No one really thought that was Russian disinformation, but they lied to you. The really smart former intelligence officers, I mean, they should all be ashamed. They're not, though, because the purpose wasn't the truth. The purpose was to mislead. The purpose was the lie, actually. And you'll see a lot of that with the Disinformation Board as well. Here is Alejandro Mayorkas, the chief of the DHS, telling you that the would-be head of Biden's Ministry of Truth here, Nina Jankowicz, it's become a very well-known name in just a couple of days here. Or perhaps as she should be better known, Soviet Mary Poppins. Here he is saying that she's an expert. She's fantastic. She'll get it done for us.
Republicans are criticizing your decision, the administration's decision to choose Nina Jankowicz to lead this disinformation board. They say she is not somebody who is neutral. Your response?
Eminently qualified, a renowned expert in the field of disinformation. Absolutely so.
Isn't this fascinating? The head of the DHS is giving you obvious disinformation, saying that she's neutral and eminently qualified. Qualified, we could argue about maybe. Neutral is absurd. He is giving you disinformation to justify his choice for the head of the Disinformation Governance Board. I mean, what could be more perfect than that? The libs, though, you have to understand, there's no sense of irony. There's no sense of we've gone too far. They're not willing to change course. So all they have is double down. They're not going to win the argument. So what are they going to do? They're going to try to find ways to shut down the other side in the argument on whatever it is. And that's what the Disinformation Board is really all about. You see it, I see it. But these are people who have been willing to lie to you on a whole range of issues and never say that they're apologizing, they're sorry for what they did. And now they think they should have the taxpayer, you, fund this entity that's supposed to tell everybody what the truth is. Here is Soviet Mary Poppins, in her own words, telling everybody that it's not just a function of making sure that we don't have, Russian disinformation on Facebook. Democracy itself is under threat. Democracy is at stake unless there are people to call it out and say what the credible sources are.
We've focused so much on, pushing back against Russian disinformation online. We've lost sight of the fact that our own government, and certainly President Trump himself, has dealt in disinformation and normalized disinformation over the past 4 years to the extent that there is no disincentive for most politicians to traffic in it anymore. And this, again, as I mentioned at the beginning, should not be a partisan issue. Democracy isn't possible without authoritative sources of information.
Democracy isn't possible authoritative sources of information. Who decides what those authoritative sources of information are? I mean, these libs honestly have either no understanding of history or don't care to remember the history that they were taught about this country, about free speech more generally. I suppose they've just thrown John Stuart Mill on Liberty. It's a bit dense, but it's worth going back to read if you like, to get a sense of why free speech is so essential, why it matters, and how this notion of the authoritative sources, you know how a place becomes authoritative in its as a source? It's when the people trust it because it keeps on saying things that are true. How could anyone believe that our Department of Homeland Security, that was willing to go along with the charade that our Border Patrol members were whipping migrants just because the libs were in a frenzy? Oh my gosh, whipping migrants. It was an obvious lie. Obvious lie from the very moment that it was said, but they went along with it. So are they authoritative? Are they authoritative when they have Mayorkas and others at the very top of the bureaucracy say that they want to stop illegal immigration, they want to enforce the law? That's a lie. No, they don't. And we see the lie playing out every day. We'll get to what the official number, think about in your head right now before I'll tell you later this hour, what the official number from the DHS, not including gotaways, released official number of illegals into the country is under Biden so far. It is a mind-blowing number, okay? So they lie to you constantly, and then they turn around and say, why don't you believe me? We're just here to get rid of the disinformation. You had the CDC change its policy on masks so many times it was hard to keep up. It's laughable to anyone capable of thinking for himself or herself. And the CDC said that if you got the shot, you would be fine. Done. No more concerns over social distancing and masking. The CDC went along with social distancing. Are they a source that is trusted? I mean, you notice I'm just talking about government source. I'm not even getting into the lib media, which is absurd. Anytime someone comes forward and says that something like Soviet Mary Poppins did here about democracy isn't possible with authoritative sources, I would say, okay, give me an authoritative source. I want to know what you think an authoritative source is. Let's hear. And let's say she put out there, oh, well, the DHS, I already gave you, DHS is wrong on all kinds of things. The bureaucrats are wrong, right? The people at the top of these things. The former CIA director, the former national security advisor, the former, I'm talking about Mike Hayden here and some of these others, right? The former director of national intelligence. These are individuals who are all wildly wrong about Trump-Russia collusion. Are they authoritative sources? Were they authoritative sources when they were pushing those lies from within the bureaucracy itself? What about James Comey? I mean, think of how offensive this concept is. The people that are pushing the idea that they know what is true have constantly lied to you in recent years. And I mean, if you go back further, they were lying, I'm sure, before that. But it's become more aggressive because the left has largely gone insane. We all see it. They make arguments that if there's another side that can be heard, we'll win. That's why they're so freaked out about Twitter. That's why they have a front-page New York Times attack on Tucker Carlson. They know that their arguments are losing in front of the American people. The Democrat Party is losing right now. And so there's this desperation to cling to power, to cling to control of the narrative. And they're so brazen about it that in the same month, in the same 2-week period, that all of a sudden one of the major social media platforms may no longer be in the grip of the authoritarian left, they roll out a DHS Disinformation Governance Board and then try to defend this as though it's not insane. This is what we are up against, friends. They're showing you who they are. They want to tell you what you can say. They want to tell you who you get to listen to, what you get to see. And then they want to speak about democracy, our sacred democracy. They are enemies of free speech, and they use democracy as a stand-in for we are in charge. Our side is in charge. That is anything that disallows that is a problem for that is a threat to democracy, don't you see? Because democracy means Democrats in control. It doesn't actually mean a system of voting within a republic, which is what we actually have, in order to establish a more perfect union, you could say. And that's not where we are these days, friends. We got libs that need a whole lot of pushback on their crazy ideas. We are talking about the doubling down on the disinformation czar, Soviet Mary Poppins, coming soon to your neighborhood, flying around on an umbrella with a hammer and sickle on it, perhaps. Nina Jankowicz, who is quite a character, if you see some of her stuff on social media. Of course, along the lines of all the other left-wing Democrat apparatchiks who are willing to say things like the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation and went along, I'm sure, with Russia collusion, all the rest of it. They're individuals who have no self-awareness about their own disinformation past, of course. And here's Mayorkas saying, "Oh no, we're not going to be the opinion police, though."
Do you really think that Jankowicz is anywhere near objective enough for this particular job?
Yes, I do. And by the way, highly regarded as a subject matter expert, and I don't question her objectivity. There are people in the department who have a diverse range of views, and they're incredibly dedicated to mission. We're not the opinion police.
No, they actually are the opinion police. This White House, if you recall, was telling social media companies to shut down COVID disinformation. And by that, they meant people who disagreed with lockdowns, disagreed with mask mandates. Don't work, folks. Never worked. People that thought it worked, sorry, they were wrong. Vaccine mandates, all of this. They are the opinion police. They're lying to you. They're gaslighting you. And this is what we have to understand is going on right now in this debate, in this discussion. And we're not going to let them get away with what they did for so long when it comes to journalism in this country. I know the White House Correspondents' Dinner was this weekend. Remember, there was a piece just last week on how boring it is to cover the Biden White House because, man, it's just a well-oiled machine. This Biden White House, you know, sometimes the Biden computer program malfunctions and they have to do an update. But other than that, everything is great. The truth is that they don't even care what the truth is. They just want to be able to tell you what to do. And they'll say whatever they have to say to get to that place. They will gaslight you. They will lie to you in the service, in their minds, of a greater truth, you see. That's why the Disinformation Board is so important to them.